Hello everyone. In today's extensive video, we'll look at 10 colossal disasters or events that could have destroyed the world or drastically altered civilization. Yet people seldom talk about them. Each one is a story of how nature, historical circumstance, or human error nearly pushed our planet, or humanity itself, to the brink of annihilation. Before we dive into the details, please give this video a like. Comment on which event you find most terrifying or surprising. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss future content, and be sure to check out our merch below. Every purchase helps us continue creating in-depth materials. Thank you, and let's get started. The Toba supervolcano eruption, 74,000 years ago. We begin with a prehistoric cataclysm. The Toba supervolcano eruption on the island of Sumatra, which occurred around 74,000 years ago. While some people have heard of gigantic eruptions like Krakatoa, 1883, or Tambora, 1815, the Toba eruption was likely far more immense. Some geological research suggests it could have ejected over 2,800 cubic kilometers of volcanic material, dwarfing any eruption recorded in more recent history. What makes it so frightening is the hypothesis that Toba's volcanic winter may have nearly wiped out humanity. Certain genetic studies propose a bottleneck in human populations around that time, implying only a few thousand individuals might have survived worldwide. If Toba had erupted at a slightly worse climate juncture, or been even larger, Homo sapiens could have been driven to extinction. Though there's ongoing debate over the precise impact, Toba remains a stark example of how a supervolcano can hurl Earth's climate into darkness and cold, risking mass starvation and species die-offs on a planetary scale. The Justinianic Plague, 6th century AD. We've all heard of the Black Death of the 14th century, but the Justinianic Plague, AD 541 to 542 with later waves, named for the Byzantine Emperor Justinian I, was equally horrific, if not more so. Some estimates say it killed 25 to 50 million people, a huge fraction of the Mediterranean world in late antiquity. It severely weakened the Byzantine Empire and may have paved the way for future geopolitical upheavals. This plague is rarely discussed in mainstream culture as much as the Black Death, yet it inflicted enormous demographic and economic disruption. Had it been even deadlier, the Byzantine Empire might have completely collapsed, and the political, religious, and cultural map of Europe and the Near East could have become unrecognizable. While it didn't exactly end the world, it severely tested the survival of civilizations in the 6th century, setting the stage for the medieval transformations that followed. The Carrington Event, 1859, a solar megastorm. In 1859, British astronomer Richard Carrington observed a massive solar flare. Soon after, a geomagnetic storm struck Earth, later called the Carrington Event. Telegraph wires threw sparks, some telegraph offices caught fire, and auroras lit the sky as far south as the tropics. Back then, the global infrastructure for electricity was rudimentary. The telegraph network was the main technology affected. Imagine something like that in today's hyper-connected world. A solar flare of similar or greater intensity could knock out satellites, destroy transformers in power grids, and black out huge regions for weeks or months. Communications, water treatment, banking, shipping, almost every modern system relies on electronics. The cost and chaos would be staggering. This near miss in 1859 highlights our vulnerability to solar superflares. We avoided a planet-wide meltdown then, but there's no guarantee we won't face something similar in the future. The Stanislav Petrov Incident, 1983. Sometimes existential threats come from human systems. On September 26, 1983, at the height of the Cold War, Soviet officer Stanislav Petrov was on duty in a satellite early warning center. The system erroneously indicated that the United States had launched several nuclear missiles at the USSR. Petrov was supposed to inform his superiors if a real attack was detected, which would likely trigger a massive Soviet retaliatory strike, escalating into a global nuclear war. Instead, he judged it a false alarm, and was correct. Had Petrov reacted by reporting an incoming strike, the superpowers might well have plunged into all-out atomic warfare, devastating human civilization. This scarcely known story proves how precariously we walked along the nuclear edge and how a single individual's calm decision possibly saved humanity. Near-Earth asteroids and collisions. Our planet once faced an asteroid impact that ended the dinosaurs, Chicxulub, about 66 million years ago. Today, astronomers monitor hundreds of near-Earth objects, NEOs, that potentially threaten Earth. Even an asteroid just a few hundred meters across, hitting the ocean or land, could unleash enormous tsunamis or a global impact winter by throwing dust into the atmosphere, blocking sunlight for months or years. Occasionally, we discover an asteroid only after it has already passed near Earth's orbital path by a cosmic hair's breadth. That close call might have been all the difference between normal life and a cataclysm. For instance, early data on the asteroid Apophis, found in 2004, suggested a significant chance of collision in 2029 or 2036. Refined calculations have since minimized the risk, but it shows how, with minimal warning, we could face an extinction-level event reminiscent of the Dino Killer scenario, albeit maybe not on that scale. Even a smaller rock can spark global chaos. The year 536. Worst time to be alive. Certain historians label AD 536 as possibly the worst year to be alive due to a massive climate downturn, likely triggered by a large volcanic eruption in the northern hemisphere, perhaps Iceland. It cast a veil of dust in the sky, leading to cold temperatures, failed harvests, and widespread hunger in Europe and Asia. Shortly afterwards came the Justinianic plague, as described above, deepening the misery. Records show the sun was dimmed and daytimes grew murky. If such a climatic shock had been even harsher or prolonged, it might have spelled total collapse for the Byzantine Empire and other societies. Even in its actual form, it contributed to what many consider a bleak era, overshadowing the transition from late antiquity to the early medieval period. Nuclear weapons accidents and broken arrows. Beyond the Petrov incident, there have been several near misses involving nuclear weapons. The term broken arrow refers to accidents like the 1961 Goldsboro, North Carolina, USA, crash, or the 1966 Palomares, Spain incident, where nuclear bombs were lost or nearly detonated. In some cases, multiple safety mechanisms had failed except for one that narrowly prevented an atomic explosion. A single unintentional nuclear blast could have unleashed worldwide panic. More critically, had an explosion been misinterpreted by an adversary as an attack, it might have provoked full-scale nuclear retaliation. That chain reaction of misunderstandings could well have ignited a global nuclear war, overshadowing any other catastrophe in terms of immediate destructive potential. Yellowstone supervolcano. The famous Yellowstone National Park in the USA sits atop a giant caldera that has erupted explosively in the geologic past. If a future eruption matched historical proportions, thousands of cubic kilometers of ash and volcanic gases could blanket large parts of North America, disrupt global agriculture, and cause severe climatic cooling. Though current geologic data suggests no imminent super-eruption, the possibility remains real on a geological timescale. Past supervolcano events like Toba highlight that Earth's interior can erupt with cataclysmic force, plunging the planet into a volcanic winter. If Yellowstone were to blow, it could lead to famine, economic collapse, and possibly a sharp drop in the human population. The 1918 H1N1 Spanish flu pandemic. While widely known, The Spanish flu pandemic of 1918 to 1920 is often overshadowed by World War I or other crises. In reality, it possibly killed more than 20 million people worldwide. Some estimates go up to 50 million or beyond, far exceeding WWI's battlefield casualties. Had the virus mutated into an even deadlier variant, the outcome could have dwarfed the horrifying reality we already saw. Medicine a century ago lacked advanced antibiotics and respirators. Societies battered by war had limited capacity to handle a massive health emergency. Indeed, it severely destabilized economies and shaped the post-war era. If it had been just a bit more virulent, it might have collapsed societies entirely or led to deeper global disorder. Post-Columbian epidemics in the Americas. After 1492, when Europeans arrived in the Americas, they unknowingly introduced diseases like smallpox, measles, and influenza to indigenous populations. With virtually no immunity, native peoples suffered mass mortality. Some estimates suggest that in many regions, 70 to 90% of indigenous inhabitants died. This decimation effectively caused the fall of mighty civilizations, Aztec, Inca, plus countless tribes across North and South America. From the perspective of the native populations, this was near apocalyptic. A single virus or set of pathogens wiped out entire societies. Had it been even more lethal, or had it spread among Europeans reciprocally, we might have seen an even more colossal global pandemic. Even as it stands, it was one of the largest demographic collapses in recorded history, but it's often glossed over in mainstream narratives of exploration and conquest. These 10 catastrophes are near-apocalyptic scenarios ranging from supervolcanic eruptions, pandemics, and solar superstorms to nuclear close calls and asteroid near misses, underscore how close our world has come to devastation, sometimes repeatedly. Each one highlights an element of fragility in civilization. Some are ancient geological phenomena, others are modern crises barely avoided due to wise decisions or sheer luck. If you found this list enlightening, please give this video a thumbs up, share your reactions in the comments, and subscribe to our channel to catch future explorations into history, science, and existential threats. Also, check out our merch below. Every item purchased supports our ongoing work to bring you in-depth content. Thank you for watching, and let's remember how delicate our planet and civilization truly are.